Hi team. So I'm going to do a few examples from assignment 15 so that you know what to do with quadratic formula. So as you guys remember, we have our formula. I'll write it here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we're going to rely on that formula all day today. So I have number 2. The first thing that I need to do is make sure that it's equal to 0. So I see that 4x is over here. I'm going to subtract it to the other side. That means that I have x squared minus 4x minus 11. I don't want to add it to the 11 or to the x squared. They're not like terms, so I'm not going to do that. That's going to be now equal to 0. So we now have a, b, and c. A is 1, b is negative 4. Be careful that that negative goes along with the b. And c is negative 11. Careful with that negative as well. So we have x is equal to negative b, which is negative 4, plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared, or b squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 11, like that, divided by 2 times a, which is 1. So for my first zone, I have this section here. Negative times negative 4 would make positive 4, plus or minus. The bottom zone, the denominator is 2 times 1, which is just 2. And then I have this other part over here, the square root of all of this. So that's probably the part that's the most complicated. I have negative 4 squared, which is 16. And then I have negative 4 times 1 times negative 11. So negative 4 times negative 11 is negative and negative makes a positive. And then 4 times 11 would be 44. So this whole thing turns into 16 plus 44, which is 50. No, 60. 60. So I have the square root of 60. The square root of 60 is not a whole number, right? It's not a whole number. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my calculator. Oops. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to say, okay, what is the square root of 60? The square root of 60 is 7.459, blah, 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 right? So I would have here two situations. Let me go ahead and make this smaller. I have the positive situation for plus the square root of 60 divided by 2, and the negative situation for minus the square root of 60 over 2. So I could do 4 plus, and I can actually just type square root of 60 like that. I'm going to put this in parentheses to show that that goes together first, and then I want to divide by 2. Right, so I have 5.87 is my first answer. 5.87 is my first answer there. I'm going to look. I see 5.87 is here, so I think I'm on the right track. And then I'm going to change this plus to a minus, and I get negative 1.87. That is my second answer. I can see that second answer here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this green block and drag it into that section there. So that would be how we would do number 2. If you don't have a calculator, well, everybody has a calculator like mine. Just go to desmos.com and click it. But if you want to do it sort of more by hand, you could do square root of 60. You get 7.4. You would do 4 plus 7.74 is 11.74. 11.74 divided by 2 is 5.87. Right, so you'll get the same number there. Right? So that is how we do number 2. I'm also going to do number 3 on this video. So let me go ahead and delete my sticky there. And we'll do number 3. Let's see. Cool. Okay. So for number 3, again, I see that there it's not equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 20 to move it to the other side. It's going to give me x squared minus 8x minus 20 equals 0, like that. So I have a equals 1, b equals negative 8, c equals negative 20. All right. Using my formula, x is equal to negative b, which is negative 8, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Be careful to put it in parentheses there because you need to square the negative along with the 8. So negative 8 times negative 8 is going to be a positive number here. So minus 4 times a times c. A is 1, c is negative 20, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So for the first zone, I have negative 8 times, or negative times negative 8 would be positive 8. For the second zone, I have 2 times 1 would be 2. This is plus or minus, and I need to deal with the square root part here. So I know negative 8 squared would be negative 8 times negative 8. Go to my calculator. I know that that is typed in like this. Negative 8 squared, positive 64. And then I have minus 4 times 1 times 20, negative 20. So negative and negative are going to make a positive, and 4 times 20 is 8. So 4 times 2 is 8 with 80. So we have 64 plus 80. So I know that's going to be the square root of 64 plus 80 is 144. Like that. In your calculator, you can just keep typing minus 4 times 1 times negative 20, like that, and you get negative 144. So you can see that's why I put that 144 there. All right. The square root of negative 144 is 12 because 12 times 12 is 144. So I know that we're really saying 8 plus or minus 12 over 2, like that. So I have my positive version, 8 plus 12 over 2, and my negative version, 8 minus 12 over 2. So I'm going to have here 8 plus 12 is 20 over 2 would be 10. 8 minus 12 would be negative 4 over 2 would be negative 2. So my two answers are 10 and negative 2. 10 and negative 2. I'm going to look for that as my answer. I see that here, negative 2 and 10. I'm going to drag that into number 3. Thanks, y'all. That's 2 examples for number 2 and 3.